Hello, and welcome to Truck Talk. Now, obviously that thumbnail image is not real. My truck didn't burn in Utah. That image was generated by AI. Now we'll get to that a little later in the video. You will find chapter links down at the bottom of the player and in the description if you want to jump forward past any of the sections that I'm going to talk about today. Now I know a lot of you have been uneasy in the past when I've done Truck Talk and I'm driving around town talking and sometimes looking at the camera, maybe gesturing. So today I am out on a remote little forest road. It's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Nobody out here. There's nothing to worry about. In this episode of Truck Talk, I actually have a number of questions that I want to ask you. So please do not hesitate to give me your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about any or all of these topics. If you don't have opinions about everything, just answer one. But I really do like to hear from you, hear what you have to think, and I would like a little feedback from you on a couple of things that we're going to talk about here. So first of all, real quick, let's talk about Softroading the West merch and t-shirts specifically. Now, occasionally I get questions from some of you about shirts, hoodies, hats, whatever. I used to have shirts available, and these were printed on demand by a third-party company. They would take the order, they would print the shirt, they would ship it directly to you, then they would share a little bit of profit with me. I went through 3 different companies doing that. I ran into issues with all of them for one reason or another. Ultimately, for the amount of time that I was putting into it versus the tiny bit of profit that I was able to earn from them, it really wasn't doing me any good. And I sold a handful of shirts over the years, but there wasn't really a significant demand, so I just stopped doing it. Lately, my own shirts that had been printed by those companies in the past, I've had them for years now. They're kind of degrading and falling apart. I wanted some new shirts for myself, so I started looking at some other ways of producing these. I'm happy with how this turned out, and so what I want to find out from you is, are you interested in buying a Softroading the West t-shirt? Because if I go back into this, it's going to require sort of an upfront investment from me, and I can't afford to lay out a bunch of money for stock if they're not going to get purchased. And I think to begin with, we would just be looking at t-shirts. They would just have the white logo just like this. They would be on an assortment of dark colors, such as maybe a forest green, maybe a charcoal, maybe a burgundy, maybe like olive green, and obviously available in a range of sizes. So are you interested in purchasing a t-shirt? Are you willing to pay $25 to $30 for a t-shirt? Because that's probably about where we're going to end up. And then sort of a secondary question there is, would you be willing to pre-order your t-shirt? So pay in advance, and then you may have to wait 2-3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks to actually get the shirt after I've done the production run. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. Now, the next little bit of business today is about this book. It is the East Idaho Overlanding Route. It was written by my friend George and his daughter Tess. You may know George and Tess from the YouTube channel Southwest Idaho Overlanding. Now, for years, George has been working on putting together a route that crosses the entire state of Idaho as much as possible on dirt roads. Apparently there is a backroads discovery route thing in Idaho. It runs more north-south. George put together a route that runs from the Oregon border all the way to the eastern border of Idaho. And this book is all about it. It has maps, it has descriptions of the route all the way through. It's broken down into legs, and then each leg is broken down into sections. There's lots of detail about what you're going to see, what to expect in terms of the type of road that you're on. There are also other informative blurbs with history, with suggestions about off-roading and overlanding, even recipes to try when you're out on the trail. Now, last year, George took a crew of people out on an inaugural run of the entire route, all in one shot. If you watched my Idaho series last year, you saw me join them for one day. So for part of the route that they were doing, I met up with them, rolled with them, camped with them, and then I continued on the rest of my own solo Idaho trip. But included in this book are stories about that inaugural run. There are write-ups about all of the people who were on that inaugural run, including me. Now you can buy this book on Amazon, actually. I will put a link to it in the description below. So I would like to say, really nice work, George and Tess, and thanks for sending me a copy of the book. Mine is an autographed first edition. I enjoyed being part of this trip, and I am enjoying reading about it. So next thing I want to quickly talk about is my backseat delete. If you've watched the channel for a while, you saw that some time ago, took out my back seat. I built in sort of a rudimentary storage shelving system, just using materials that I had on hand in the garage. Now I've been super happy with that. It's much better than having the back seat there. I was able to keep my stuff better organized and more accessible, and I was especially happy with the camera battery charging case that I built that was sort of integrated as part of that. That all worked out really well. Admittedly, that whole build was very improvised and just using stuff that I had in the garage, and it wasn't super strong. It held out really well, but I had a bit of a failure when I was up doing those rough roads in the Colorado mountains. I had already been thinking about some ways I wanted to change it, and so I took the opportunity when I got back from Colorado to just tear it out. So currently I've just got stuff floating around back there. One of the challenges is that one of the things I need to carry back there is my power station that runs my fridge. I need it to be accessible, but it is heavy, and so having it up on top of, you know, my whole sort of build was awkward because it was a lot of weight that was up high. After having such good luck with the Milwaukee pack-out drawers in the camper build, I had been sort of hazily in the back of my mind thinking that that's what I was going to do for the back seat delete as well. That whole system works so well, it's so versatile, it's so modular. But as I started looking at it, oh, there is a gate. But as I started looking at it, hang on, I gotta turn around. But as I started looking at how I could make that work in terms of building that in there and how it would be accessible, ultimately, I don't think I can make the Milwaukee pack-out system work. I mean, I could make it work, but it would be an inefficient use of space because one way or another, the drawers have to be able to open. Some kind of drawers would be nice, but a drawer in that situation is difficult because of the way the door opens. Actually, let's just stop and take a look at that. So you can see currently all the shelving is gone. This base piece is still there just because it gave me a nice flat surface for now, and I've just got some stuff thrown in there. My fridge is over there, and so it would be nice to, you know, fully utilize this space, but a drawer that would run that entire distance would not be able to come out because it would run into the door. The Milwaukee pack-outs, if you put them in right here where the drawers are, you know, openable right here, then, you know, they only go in about this far, and then it leaves all this other space back here sort of inaccessible because it would be behind the pack-outs and also behind the fridge. If I put the pack-outs in this way, so the drawers open this way, that's really inefficient because you have to leave this space, you know, for the drawers to open. So that's sort of where I'm at with the backseat delete. What I wanted to ask you is, if you've done a backseat delete, what are you doing? Is it working for you? Are you happy with it? I've seen, you know, pre-built solutions. A lot of them involve like a platform, and then they've got like compartments, and I am not interested in that at all. I don't want to like have to move stuff to get at other stuff. The whole point for me in removing the back seat was to have all of my stuff be reasonably accessible. I have a few hazy ideas that I'm kicking around, but nothing that I'm just like, yeah, this is the answer. So what are you doing? What have you seen? Or is it better to just throw some bins back there and call it good? Let me know what you think. All right, let's move on to our main topic here, because what I really wanted to talk about was AI, and in particular, AI as it relates to your experience and my experience as YouTube users. Now, love it or hate it, AI is here. We can be angry about it, but it's here. I personally am not someone who is interested in using AI for content creation. That's happening a lot out there, and Facebook and YouTube are even providing tools to make it easier to generate like AI shorts and stuff like that. But the uses for AI go beyond just creating images or creating video clips. A creator can potentially use AI to handle some back-end administrative work, write descriptions, communicate with sponsors, write voiceovers. I try to go into this stuff open-minded, and I even tried to experiment with using AI to write me a script for a video. But I ended up spending so much time changing and modifying and fixing and improving that script that would have been easier for me to just write it straight out of my head from the very beginning. Yeah, it would have taken some work, it would have taken a little bit of brain power, but I'm not convinced that AI actually saved me any time or trouble. And ultimately, I feel better about producing content that is truly mine. Now, even if creators aren't generating totally false AI content to post on YouTube, I know that AI is getting used a lot to put thumbnail images together. For me personally, I feel that moves into sort of ethical gray area. I like my thumbnails to be truthful, to show something that is actually in the video. Now, the thumbnail on this video that you're watching, obviously, yeah, my truck did not burn in Utah, but the whole point of this video is to talk about AI, and so I feel like an AI image is the right thing to put on the front of that. We're talking about what AI can do and how frighteningly realistic it is. So my personal stance is I don't want my content, stuff that you see, that you consume, to be AI generated in any way. I want it to be stuff that I wrote, stuff that I shot. I want it to be reality. But AI is creeping further and further into everything. So even beyond my content generation, I have encountered useful applications of AI that are not necessarily deceptive to the end user. For example, the music licensing service that I use has just launched a feature, and it's sort of in beta, it's not perfect, but they've launched a feature where I find a piece of music that I want to use, but there's something about the tone or feel that isn't quite right. I can actually give it instructions to rework the music, maybe add a certain instrument or a certain feel, make the music bigger, make the music more subdued. Now, I really like this idea because I spend a lot of time looking for music that fits the mood of a moment in my videos. Kind of looks like a storm is brewing. Idaho wouldn't do that to me again, would it? Oh, I guess it would. So if my music service can use AI to modify a piece of music to better fit my video and ultimately produce a better product for you to consume, that's not a misrepresentation, nor is it taking work away from the musicians who produce the music, because I am licensing the music. Someone's getting paid for that music that I put in my video. Something else that I recently encountered is that an old video of mine from a few years ago that I shot at one of the Overland Expos had a bit of music in it that was like playing in the background. In the booth, they had like a stereo playing. And I recently got dinged for unauthorized use of that copyrighted music. And what happens when you use music you don't have the rights to, and someone catches it and files a claim for it, it discontinues the monetization on that video, so I'm no longer making money off of that video because there's someone else's content in it, which, you know, that's fair. That's why I use a music service. So when I went into YouTube's back end to try and address this issue, I discovered they now have an option where they use AI to remove the music while leaving the words in place. I thought I was going to have to either completely blank out this portion of the video, or take the video down completely, or simply give up on earning any revenue from people watching that video. But I discovered this remove music, preserve speech option, and it worked fantastically. It cleaned the music right out. The speech is there. It's actually better than the video was before because that music is gone. That, I think, is a legit and good use of artificial intelligence. Where I think we start running into some danger with the use of AI is, first of all, just using our brains less and less. Even if we're not using AI to generate content, if we're using it in other ways to do work that normally we would have to think about and process, we start losing the ability to actually understand what we're doing. Now, every single week, I get multiple offers from companies to have them send me their products for me to review. I decline 99% of those. You guys don't want to see product review upon product review. I did recently have a company with a product that I thought was cool. I thought it was nice. It was reasonably priced for what it was. I thought you guys would like to see it. So I told them, yeah, okay, send me your product, I'll review it. They sent me these contracts, and I didn't like what was in the contracts, and I told them what I didn't like about it and why, and they would send me a new version of the contract. And it was clear to me that both they were communicating to me through AI. They are in China, as most of these companies are. So the communications were being generated by AI, or some sort of AI translation. And I'm sure that some sort of AI translator was reading my messages, translating for them, and they were writing their reply, which is getting translated back into English. That bit isn't so terrible, because ultimately, now that these overseas companies have started using AI, I've actually found the communications a little bit easier. But they were also clearly using AI to generate these contracts. At least that's the impression I got, because there were all these little bits and pieces here and there that just didn't make sense. And it was clear that some of the wording in this contract was from some other product that was completely unrelated. So the clause that was in the contract made no sense at all. Ultimately, I brought that to a halt. I said, you know what, we're done here. This is ridiculous. And I was like, forget it. It just wasn't worth it. But I think that underscores some of the potential dangers of relying on AI to do work that you would normally use your brain for. AI makes mistakes all the time. I run into it all the time. I find things being stated as fact that are 100% blatantly, completely wrong. The other danger that I see about AI is that the way these engines work is, they learn. They look at all of this stuff that's all over the internet, and they learn what a person should look like. They learn what this should look like. They learn all these different things, and it just sort of forms everything together to create, some new version of something based on all of the data that it's gathered. And in the case of photographic images, it's looking at lots and lots and lots of people, and then it can create a whole new person because it's looked at so many, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of faces, and it knows how to put together a face. It knows how to put together different expressions. But what's happening now is that people are using these AI engines to produce content that is going out on the internet. It's out there. You can see it. You scroll through Instagram or YouTube Shorts. It's everywhere, which means that those AI engines they're learning off of stuff that's not necessarily just actual people, but it's learning off of images of fake people who do not exist, people who are maybe idealized versions. So in a way, you're sort of that, you make a photocopy of something, but then if you make a photocopy of the photocopy, and you make a photocopy of the photocopy, it starts to break down. Or like playing the game of telephone, where you're in a circle and one person says something to the person next to them, and then to the person next to them, and by the time it gets around the circle, it has completely changed because people mishear things, misinterpret. And the more and more AI content that is out on the internet, that means the more these AI engines are going to be looking at that and using that to inform themselves for the stuff that they're generating. And so it starts being a copy of a copy of a copy. That to me just does not feel like a safe and reliable way to generate content. Now, I could see an argument for a content creator like me to use AI image generation in specific circumstances, such as to produce a graphic or something to illustrate a concept. Sometimes I literally like draw on paper to make a diagram for one of my videos. So I actually gave that a try. On my first Utah video, as I drove, on the screen I put the names of the places that I was going through, various towns or whatever. And I thought it would be nice to show a map that followed that route and showed those places where they were on the map. And that seemed like a very simple thing. And I used Google's AI engine to produce a map of that. And here's what it came up with. So then I explained to the AI engine that it was incorrect, and I rewrote my prompt to try and get it to fix the things that were wrong. But its second attempt was still nowhere near accurate. So I thought, okay, this is Google. It's got access to Google Map data, right? It's got to know where these places are. So for the moment, I'm not sure that AI has any place at all in my life, at least in terms of content that I'm putting together for you. And one of the negative effects that I'm seeing, at least that I think that I'm seeing, is that it has now become so simple for so many people to generate so much content without doing anything. All they have to do is sit there at the computer. They know how to write some prompts, and they can put together content without ever going and filming anything at all. And this stuff is getting uploaded to Instagram, to YouTube, wherever. This content is essentially flooding the market, and the more and more content that gets uploaded onto YouTube, the harder and harder it is for my stuff to be seen, because there's just so many more videos that are competing for eyeballs. And that may not be the only explanation for, why my revenue has dropped so significantly, even though my numbers, my view numbers, my subscriber numbers, all of that stuff is up. I've improved my product over the years, but the amount of money that I make on YouTube now is less than half of what it was when my numbers were much lower. And I think part of that is that there's just so much more of this other content that is flooding the space that, I'm a smaller and smaller fish in an increasingly growing pond. While some large content creators may be able to weather that storm, it's entirely possible that AI is going to push out smaller creators like me. It's just going to become unsustainable. I may not be able to weather this storm. So that brings me to questions that I have for you regarding AI. Do you feel that some level of AI is acceptable, even if it's not in the content, but if it's used as a tool in the back end? Are you using AI in some way to improve your productivity or increase what you can get done or improve your product? What ways are you using AI that are beneficial? Do you think it's acceptable for a creator to use AI to change and enhance the thumbnail of a video? Do you think it's acceptable for a creator to use AI to generate some of the spoken content, the voiceover or the information that is presented in the video? I know that you have to move forward with the times, right? You can't just stay entrenched. You can't bury your head in the sand. To me, it seems that, like it or not, we have to coexist with AI now. Is it better to shun it completely, declare this a AI free zone, never use it in any way? Is it better to use it in a few select smart ways that don't impact the truthfulness of the content that I create? Is it better to embrace it fully and just move into this new world where fact and fiction are getting blurred all of the time? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. So I talked about a lot of different things today, and I had a number of questions for you. Please take a moment, comment down below, Let me know what you think about any of those things that I've talked about. If you appreciate the genuine content that I try to bring you, consider becoming a member on Patreon. The only way I'm able to survive currently is because I have Patreon members who are supporting me for as little as $3 a month. A bunch of you all together can help keep this operation literally on the road. I've got more adventure content coming to the channel very soon. Thank you for watching.